just a bit of a change of programme. We've got John Nelson, who is the chair for the National Police Autism Association. He is on duty, but he said that, he was stepping quickly just before so he can say something about, NPAA. Welcome, John.
So, National Police Autism Association, I founded it back in October 2015. And this came about really from two things. One, I was a frontline officer in Hampshire at the time, and I was, in part of my role, I was dealing regularly with autistic people, normally coming to police as victims. And I started to realise there was no real provision in place to help support them and to help train officers to deal with them. And the other thing was that at the age of 40, I myself was diagnosed with autism, actually Asperger's syndrome, which is a variant. It was quite a difficult thing to come to terms with. At the time, I'd been a police officer for 8 years, and at the time there was absolutely no support in place at all. I set up a support group in Hampshire, and we started to get contacted from other officers around the country who had also gone through the same experience I had. And there was nothing in place to support them. So I had the idea of setting up a national support group. When we first started, it was an online-only group, but then pretty soon I was asked if we could provide any sort of local support in forces. Within a couple of years, I'd managed to recruit champions or coordinators, as we call them, in every force in the UK, all 48 of them, which I'm quite proud of as an achievement, and we've managed to maintain that ever since. So that's what we are, really. We offer support online via our web forum, also in person via our network of coordinators. We advocate for best practice around supporting autism within the police service. We work with police forces as civilian employers. We advocate for things like reasonable adjustments for making selection and promotion processes fair for everyone. We also, as I mentioned, advocate for external support, service delivery, making sure that members of the public who come to the attention of the police receive the best service possible. A lot of police forces are doing good things in both internally and externally. What I will say is it's a little bit patchy at the moment. Some are really, really good, some are not so good, and there's lots of in-betweens. So we're trying as best we can to introduce a level of conformity to make sure everyone gets up to the same standard. And when anyone's doing anything really good, then we want to share the ideas. So that's what we're about. Has anyone got any questions for me?
Just to let everybody know that John will have to leave because he's on duty. So if anybody just wants, the panelists, somebody can ask a question and I can get somebody to answer.
I've got a question. Go
on, Jesse.
Where is your MPPA organisation based in?
We don't have a location as such. We're spread all over the country. I personally work for British Transport Police. I'm based out of Waterloo, where I normally work. We've got an exec committee, but we're all over the place. Our vice chair's in Hampshire, head of service delivery and policy is in Avon and Somerset, who, by the way, are probably the premier force for supporting autism and neurodiversity internally and externally. We've got another couple of exec members, one in Dorset, one in Northamptonshire, and our coordinators cover the whole of the country. Okay.
Do you need help from any other autistic individuals, like in regards of autism, if you were to do something?
Absolutely. We've had a few people ask about whether they can do anything to help their local force, and the answer to that is almost certainly yes. What we can do is say if you want to participate in or help in training officers is to get in touch with our local champion, and I'm sure they'd be very pleased to get you involved in that.
Okay, that's something I'll definitely look forward to doing.
Where Jesse, whereabouts are you?
I'm Wandsworth. I'm literally one train ride away from Waterloo.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we have a coordinator in the Met Police. In fact, I've been working with her quite closely, because you'll probably be aware of the Triforce Autism Alert Card scheme. That was launched. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
That she was involved in personally, and she still answers all the queries that come in from the website. So if you can get in touch with me via Venessa afterwards, I can do an introduction for you.
Okay, I'll definitely do that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. I got one question from a panelist, Liz, and she's asking, how would I contact one of your champions for Brighton, or would it be Sussex?
Sorry, could you just say again a little bit louder? I missed the first bit.
So it says, how would I contact one of your champions for Brighton, or would it be Sussex? Okay,
so if they go on the website, select the communications or miscellaneous drop down on the contacts page, just send us a message, then that will go to me, and I can put them in touch with the coordinator for Sussex.
Thank you. I mean, I know you've got to go now, but one question I would like to ask is, how can we apply? I know, but I think it's better to hear from you in regards to the tri-card. You know, the tri-cards?
Yeah.
Where do people go to? Because I know that a lot of people still are not aware of this card. I know that Tom mentioned the card that they have in the USA. I know we do have it, but a lot of the boroughs, not all, are making those adjustments in regards to if somebody has got one of these cards.
Yeah.
Do you think we should all have it as a national one, or do you think we should just have it as boroughs? Because each borough works very differently.
Okay, so to get hold of a card, they just need to drop an email to autism@met.police.uk. If they go on our website, we did a blog on the release of the card last year. You can just go on our website and just search for Autism Alert Card, and the email address is on there. But I'll read it out once again. It's autism@met.police.uk. And if they drop an email there, then that will go to Liz Simmons, our coordinator, who runs the scheme, and she will get back to them.
Thank you. I mean, does anybody else want to ask a question? Everybody's quiet. Paul? No question?
I just came in on the end of that, and it was the same question that you asked there. It's how do we get in contact, and how can we in fact start doing that best practice working together? That's what I'm interested in. So so you answered the question, the link's there, and that was amazing. Thank you, John.
Okay, you're welcome.
That was great.
Thank you. Okay, John, thank you for joining us. I know it's taken us a while. I think people don't realise we've been trying to plan this for the last 3 months, but it was trying to get everybody together, and John stepped in from Adam. But I'm so grateful that, John, you've joined us, and stay safe, and we will be back on part 2 when we do it with the professionals in regards to the police and other specialists within the law.
Okay, Vanessa, fantastic. Thank you very much for inviting me again. If anyone's got any questions, then please feel free to get in touch. Vanessa can pass out my details, and I look forward to joining in the next one.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, John.
I'll be happy to. I had the opportunity to meet Leroy several years ago, actually working on a different project. And that was when I first learned about what an amazing advocate he is for the disability community. What I think I most appreciate about Leroy is his candor and his experience and his way of really enlightening people about situations for people who have disabilities. We don't always agree on our opinions, but he's a person that no matter what, whether you agree with him or not, you always walk away knowing more about a subject than you came in knowing. And you walk away feeling enlightened and just really having a better understanding. So I really want to introduce Leroy. Thank you, Leroy, so much for agreeing to come here and share your wisdom with us today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm Leroy Moore. A little background about myself. I grew up in Connecticut and New York in the 70s and 80s. Became an activist early on in the 80s. It's quite funny because I challenged the disability movement early on in the 80s when they were protesting for curb cuts. Because I used to go to my father's house meetings back then, and my father and the elders of the community was talking about police brutality. This was way before Black Lives Matter, of course. This was in the late 70s or 80s. And I was approached by disabled activists that wanted me to join their organizations and their movement. And I asked them, I was like, well, what are you doing around police brutality? And back then they were protesting for more curb cuts. And they said, oh, well, nothing. I was like, well, I can't join you because a lot of Black disabled boys, men, women can't even come outside to join the curb cuts because of police brutality. So back then I really saw the separation between the disability rights movement and the Black community. Got involved with police brutality under Eleanor Bumpers. Eleanor Bumpers was an elderly Black woman in New York. She had mental health disabilities, and one time she just refused to pay rent. The police came out and they knew her. They had training, and they shot her. And that was the first case that I was involved in. I was in high school, wrote letters, went to the hearings and stuff. And back then, they were rolling out police training because of that case. So that was 84, 85. I've been activist against police brutality since, and today we have the same thing, training. So that's why I'm not for training, because I've heard it for 4 or 5 decades now, and I'm really for. I look at that the disability community did not finish their work. And the work is really educating the community, so we don't need police. And that means a whole life-changing way of living. And I got this concept when I joined Poor Magazine. And Poor Magazine has a workshop that's called Never Calling the Police. And Poor Magazine's been doing that since the late 90s. I joined Poor Magazine in 96, 97, and I started the first online column of dealing with people of color with disabilities. And our first article was about Margaret Mitchell from LA. And Margaret Mitchell was a houseless lady had mental health disabilities in LAPD. Somebody called LAPD and she had a shopping cart and LAPD shot her. So that was the first case that I wrote about. The LA Times picked it up. And once again, they talked about training. So, from that, I had a nonprofit organization back then called Disability Advocates of Minorities Organization. And we put on 2 open forums. I think it's one of the first open forums around police brutality and people with disabilities, because 2 mothers at the time, Black mothers, lost their sons, and their sons were disabled because of police brutality. One was Kevin Boyd. Kevin Boyd had prosthetic legs, and he was driving back home, and the police thought he stole the car. The car was nice. The car was his mother. Police said, "Get out the car." He's like, "I got my legs in the back." Police said, "Get out the car." So he got out the car. He's like, "I'm going to get my legs." And when he went to go get his legs, boom. So that and Misha and her son had mental health disability, was going to see a movie at the Sony Metron Theater, had mental health episodes in the theater. He was with his girlfriend. His girlfriend came out and called the mother. The mother was trying to get there. The mother heard police in the background, and the police emptied out the theater and didn't ask any questions and shot Idris Stelly. So since that shooting, Idris Stelly's mother, Misha, has started an organization around police brutality on Idris Stelly Foundation, and we work closely with her. C was a part of my organization at the time for people with disabilities, and she was also on that parent panel that we did back in San Francisco. So, I can go on the history and cases and cases and cases. That doesn't, of course, it means something, the names mean something. But I've seen the cycle since '84. And the cycle is person gets shot. The state comes out with the same answer, training, over and over and over again. And my thing right now is that all the money and the resources that goes to police for training, can you imagine that coming back to the community so we can know our neighbors and train our neighbors? This happened in Denver, outside of Denver, where Paul Childs Paul Childs was an autistic black early teen, and he was young children in his basement, and the parents thought that he had a knife or something. So the parents called the police. The police knew about Paul Childs. The police had been there over and over again. The police had training, all the good stuff. The police came, went downstairs in the basement, and the parents was like, police, that's all I need is to him to be safe. And, and they, of course, didn't listen to the parents and shot Paul Childs. The reason I bring up that case is of course, the senseless death, but the reaction of the community in the Black church and a lot of Black men at the time. They, after the police shooting, they said, the reason why, Paul Childs is not here with us is that the parents had no other person to call. We couldn't, say that it was a lack of training because they had training, so we couldn't say that. But so because the community and the church got together and they had a program called Face It. And I interviewed them, when it came out about, I think it's about 8 years ago on KPFA 94.1 FM in Berkeley. And what they said is that, the community got together and said that we have to train and educate our neighborhood. So for a year, they went door to door, training everybody in the neighborhood around autism. And they said they didn't want the police, they wanted to train the neighborhood. So, so that's one of the models. Of course, Poor Magazine, like I said, Poor Magazine has the workshop that we're calling the police. You can go to poormagazine.org and check out that model. And we just did the workshop online a couple weeks ago on that model. And also, I also do what's called Hip Hop Nation. And that's hip hop and music with disabilities. And we put out a documentary called Where is Hope? The Art of Murder, Police Brutality, and People with Disabilities. And this was back when Black Lives Matter just started. And it's interesting because we put out this film and we put out a hip-hop CD of hip-hop artists with disabilities. And we didn't get any support from big-time movements like Black Lives Matter, like October 22nd. So we, came back and we just did it ourselves with no funding, no nothing, but we did it. The movie is for the community. It's up on YouTube. You can rent it for $4 and watch it. The hip hop CD, it's been out, and so that's what hip hop has done. Throughout the years, we've also been involved with other cases like the Nellie Latson case in Virginia. We were on that case, when it started, and it's kind of interesting now because Black Lives Matter is all over that case. It's like, we were on that case in the beginning and nobody wanted to touch it. We went to Black movie stars and nobody wanted to touch it. So it's interesting that now, because of the bling bling of Black Lives Matter, they are on the case, which I'm glad that they're on the case. But once again, the work that was done before by Black disabled activists has been erased. So that happens a lot. I can talk about the Ruderman study that came out a couple of years ago. Everybody loves this study. It's been on Washington Post and New York Times. And the Ruderman study says that 50% of police shootings are people with disabilities. I say it's 70%. Because if you include all disabilities, not only mental health disabilities, but include autism, all disabilities, it jumps up to 70%. And although, it's kind of iffy when this study came out, because really the study was made by two white men. And it's like, with police fatality, you know that police fatality is mostly, Black and brown, people. So when this study came out, it was really, critical about the study. It uses work by Black disabled people without really quoting or giving Black disabled people their blame. So I say at this point is that especially in the U.S., there needs to be a collaboration of Black disabled activists to Black organizations to do our own study. Because as we know, in the U.S. and around the world, numbers matter. And if you don't have numbers, then you're not on anybody's thinking list. Here in the U.S., we have the U.S. Census, that comes out every 10 years, and so you have nonprofits, so numbers really matter. And I think it's way overdue that Black disabled activists would team up with a national Black organization to do this report. The Malcolm X Grassroots Center in New York did a report a few years before the Ruderman report and talked about the Black community and police brutality, but it didn't have disability in it. So it would be very game-changing if Black, disabled, and deaf communities can team up with a national Black organization to do reports, to do programs, and to do pilot programs around state violence in Black disabled community. So I'll leave it there. I know I talked a lot, but thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
I noticed some people thought we were starting at 7. I did say it was 6:30. If we think that you've missed something, we have recorded it. Tom decided to join us because what I actually said is, I don't think people realise is that I have been doing so many Zooms. I'm overwhelmed. I'm going through my own challenges. And I don't think people realise that I'm doing this off in my own time. So I'm thanking everybody. Yes, I know everybody thought it was 7 o'clock. It was 6:30 because what I was looking at was trying to make sure that it was bringing in the Americans and other people from around the world, because a lot of people today were, it's 4 a.m. in the morning. I couldn't change it. I had to fit it around my time because obviously I've got my family. So I apologise to anybody out there who are messaging me saying I think it starts at 7, but please understand we're all trying to get speakers because everybody wants to speak. And as I said, Paul was going to start first, but Paul came along obviously because he's got his own commitments as well. So please bear with us. We did have a timetable. We are on track, but what we've had is we have a few other speakers that have come in because what was happening, a lot of people thought that I shouldn't be doing this. And I think we can't keep silent no more because at the end of the day, we have to keep on talking. I asked for somebody to do the transcript so that those who've got hearing impairment, so that they could read if they, they're struggling with any communication, what they're hearing. And what came back was the money was extortion. I can't afford it because we're not getting paid. We're doing this off our own back. So again, I'm just saying, please bear with us. And hopefully when we do something nearer a time, we can do it again. Because Tom is always there doing a lot of online webinars. So again, apologise. I've decided to bring Paul McKenzie on because Paul has been a great support to me. I'm always saying great support because there's been lots and lots of people who have been in the background pushing and supporting me because there's times where I wanted to give up. People don't realise that having a teenager son is a struggle, but when you get your daughters or my youngest daughter diagnosed 10 years later, the struggle is greater. People don't realise. So I feel now that Paul has seen the journey I've been on now in the time of the last 2-3 years, and he's seen and he said he doesn't know how I do it. So I'm glad sometimes us parents have to let people into our space. If we don't let people into our space, we continue getting judged and criticised for being bad parents. As a black mother, I'm constantly told I need to do firm boundaries. Firm boundaries to the point I am not going to beat my children, as I've been told. Keeping it real, because at the end of the day, our children, young people, autistic adults may end up in the criminal justice system because their voices are not being heard. And then as parents, as Tom explained, is that if you do not tell your child that they are on the autistic spectrum or have any hidden disability and they end up in the criminal justice system, you can't blame the police, you can't blame the criminal justice system. We have to look at ourselves, because at the end of the day, we have a voice to fight for our children. If you're not believed, find organisations out there that will speak. We've got Max, we've got Jesse, who are 2 young autistic adults that have always supported me in regards to just being a voice from a white perspective and a black perspective. I was told, why am I not keeping it black? Because at the end of the day, autism doesn't see no colour to an extent. Racism is there. As I always turn around, and I was going to say it at the beginning, but I didn't get a chance because, as I said, I've been up from early hours this morning doing other events. George Floyd's death has brought up and brought to the spotlight racism. That's what it's done. But when it comes to the autistic community, their voices are not being heard. When we look at, when I was told about stop and search section 60, that's not my speciality. That's for somebody else to speak. Because at the end of the day, when we keep on talking about racism, but when we look at autistic boys, black boys in particular, even black girls, our voice is not being heard because nobody feels that it's important. That's coming from all communities. And I'm saying it as it is. We're told not to put our dirty linen in public. But at the end of the day, I'm sick and I'm tired. Because at the end of the day, I've got to the point now, I can't do this. And I'm always saying I can't do it on my own. So why I brought these people in is because they've come to me, outreached me, and said, Venessa, we need to come together. Mandy came to me on LinkedIn. She didn't know me. She came and said, I need to say something. There's parents out there right now who are struggling. They don't have a voice. Where she lives and where I live in 2 different parts of England, but we've come together because at the end of the day, we see there's a crisis for lots of young boys in particular. But when it comes to black children who are living out of London, who are being the voice for these black children? If County Line is coming into the play, does parents really know what their children are doing? So when we look at social media, when we're talking about us single black mothers, I'm sorry, I was married, okay? I am sick and tired of constantly being judged. I'm saying it loud and clear for people to understand right now is I'm sitting here, I'm tired. So when anybody's telling to me, complaining, I'm not doing anything, they need to remember I am doing this voluntarily, and everybody you see on here, we volunteer our spare time. So I apologize for anybody who said it, why I started late. We didn't. We started on time. And I'm sorry I'm saying how I'm saying it, because a lot of people have told me that I need to start speaking. That's why I've come to the forefront now. I'm not hiding no more, but at the same time, I'm still hurting. And as I said, I'm going to bring Paul McKenzie on to come and speak a little bit, even though it should be in the beginning, and then we're going to have Max Screen. Thank you.